So I was a Roman soldier, like whatever, my age 7 Halloween costume, and so on. And then eventually I was Hamlet. Okay, and this was there were no other girls who were dressing in men's clothing at Halloween at that period. But I just felt I was absolutely suffocating. I belonged to to this generation of rebellion. I finally felt at home in with the kind of gender bending fad that came out of London, swinging 60s, London, mod London, and there's a tremendous energy that came from London. I felt it was a kind of my spiritual home through that period. There were now all kinds of clothing one could buy that was in effect transgender. I had like flared trousers, pinstriped, okay, wearing like Carnaby Street men's ties and so on. Finally, I felt I was coming into my own at that period in the 1960s. So when feminism was reborn with Betty Friedan in the late 1960s, I thought this was supposed to be about the liberation of women. Instead, I really hit a wall of the closed minds, the new fanatics of second wave feminism. I had already signaled my revolt by my passion for Amelia Earhart, okay, when I was in high school in the early 1960s. Through Amelia Earhart, who I learned about through some newspaper article, they found some bones, which turned out not to be hers after all, the eternal mystery of what happened to Amelia Earhart. But through my 3-year research project into Amelia Earhart in the early 1960s, I learned about that wonderful period following the women gaining the right to vote in both Britain and the United States, and these women like Katharine Hepburn, Dorothy Parker, Dorothy Thompson, Margaret Burke White. There were like just so many, and Anne Morrow Lindbergh. There were so many women who were achieving and who had attained a tremendous celebrity in the period of the 1920s, 1930s. That to me is my favorite period in feminism, okay? Because these women, okay, admired what men had done. Okay? There was no male bashing, as became systemic, okay, to second wave feminism. Okay, it's an absolute poison that has spread worldwide. Okay, a feminism based on denigrating men, trivializing what men have done, defining men as oppressors and tyrants through history. Okay, it is an absolute lie. I mean, there have been crimes against women where they have occurred. We must condemn them. All right, but men throughout history have given their lives, okay, and their labor for the support of women and children. Okay, so this is an element in second wave feminism that to me is an extrapolation of neuroticism on the part of these fanatics, okay, who have been attracted to this movement. And I've been at war. Or Amelia Earhart admired what Lindbergh had done, and she was called the Lady Lindbergh, okay, when she crossed the Atlantic, heroically alone, okay, in an airplane. You couldn't even see it out the windshield. She was like doing everything, by mechanically, etc. Right. So I feel that was the most helpful period in terms of the history of feminism.
But just in terms of because your second wave feminism characterization, which I recognise, but it seems to me that things have gone worse. Now, I mean, we had Christina Hoff Sommers here last year speaking at the festival, and I know that you and
yes,
she
ally of mine. Yes.
There's a great interview, actually. She's probably a fantastic interview on film between Christina and Camille, which you must watch if you haven't already. But where you sort of you anticipated what I have written about recently, but using that phrase "generation snowflake" it's not a helpful phrase, but it's from America. So that's what they're calling America, and it's often young women. I mean, the generation snowflake phenomena of the thin-skinned, easily offended.
Yes,
and I find it. That's what I was saying. I find it upsetting because I, like you, think. Isn't the point about women's liberation to be free and strong, to take risks, rather than I can't cope with that, if I see a picture or it's going to finish me off, and who can protect me? And the demand is to, for example, in universities, college authorities, you come and protect me.
Yes.
Well,
it's a return to the 1950s vision of femininity again. Okay?
Yeah.
So when my generation arrived in college, I arrived in 1964 in college, and the colleges still believed they had the right and obligation to act in loco parentis, in place of the parent. Therefore, the women's dormitories, women were compelled to sign in at 11 o'clock at night, so we were safely inside. The men could run free, for the whole night. We're the ones who said, get out of our private lives. And the colleges said, no, now the world is dangerous. We must protect you against rape. And what my generation said was, give us the freedom to risk rape. That is true adulthood, okay, for women. And now everything has regressed. And I do believe it's because nothing has really happened, okay, to this generation. They have not had that initial experience that my generation did of war, you know. And so I think it's a result of the world of social media also, where people feel they have so many friends, okay, and they want a sense that reality is comforting them and cushioning them and so on. I think there's a great anxiety and a sort of weakness of outline of the personalities of young people. They do, to me, look like as an experienced classroom teacher of 45 years. I mean, I'm starting to self-censor as I speak to them. I'm starting to, it's not that I give trigger warnings or anything like that, but I do feel that they are easily upset, okay, and that their education has been without a realistic introduction to the barbarities of human history, right? I feel that ancient history must be taught, okay, and that there's too much presentism right now. Right? They see a comfortable world around them, the world of the shopping malls, a world of material prosperity, right? And they believe that by any problems in the environment can be remedied by just a little, using a screwdriver, slightly tighten a screw, all right? And soon utopia, you know, will happen. They have no sense, okay, of the special privileges they enjoy in this very affluent, culture. So I believe in introducing young people to the disasters of history.
But just actually on teaching, because I think that's the disasters of, that's a good curriculum. But they've just announced that they're getting rid of classical civilization A-level in this country, so that's worth knowing, and art history as it goes.
Yes.
But anyway, one thing's on the actual content of what's, because one of the things that happens is there's an accusation that the young are over-coddled, mollycoddled, and I think that's true. I think the responsibility is my generation that has basically reared them, wrapped people in cotton wool. The problem is there isn't a rebellion except to be wrapped in more cotton wool.
Yes,
so that's not a good sign. So
Yeah.
that's what my concern is. But on your point about what you're taught, which I think is really interesting, is one of the things that happens, because I'm interested in education, is that rather than sort of demanding that people are taught more, is that people are taught less or different. So to give you an example, there was a campaign on in schools recently about music A-level in this country that said the problem with music A-level was it was putting off young women because there wasn't enough women composers on the curriculum. So there was this sort of like, we can't, why have you got Mozart and Beethoven, and where are the women? Obviously, there aren't that many women composers. So the young people who organised this campaign, who was 17, the exam board, backed by the government, in fact, the exam board, instructed by the government of this country, backed down. So Kate Bush is now on the A-level music curriculum as a course of this victory. But it struck me that every topic loses the sense of what it was about. So we're not interested in music anymore. That was a kind of propaganda lesson. You go into a museum or a gallery with a bunch of young women, and it's we start discussing, sexist exploitation, and in fact the galleries and the museums go along with that sort. So I just feel as though, as you're an art teacher, that something's gone wrong in education as well. It's not just that we've wrapped them in cotton wool. They don't know anything. And they're not likely to at this rate. Anyway.
Yes, well, when second-wave feminism suddenly burst out in the late 1960s and early 1970s, there was this claim being made by feminists that the history had been censored and that soon would be rediscovered, all these unknown female geniuses in the history of the arts. And there really was that belief out there. So there was this search for the undiscovered woman Michelangelo and so on and so forth. Well, there is no woman Michelangelo. Instead, they'll add Artemisia Gentileschi, who was a perfectly capable, competent painter in a certain Baroque style that Rubens did better, etc. And so my book, Sexual Persona, my first book, is about what is the nature of artistic creation, and what is the nature of genius. And I said that men have indeed made most of the major landmarks in the history of the arts, and I tried to explain why. I said it's not because women have less talent, but that men are driven toward hallucination, obsession, okay, diversion, okay, from the priority of women's power over them. Okay? And I have all my theories about men's conceptualization that may indeed be related to the intelligence range. Okay, that is that women tend to show up at the great midpoint of the IQ range. And you have male geniuses and you have male morons, literally. Okay, and I also said that to me, crime. Okay, that crime is a conceptual activity, serial sex crime, and so on, and that this is, and I said there is no female Mozart because there is no female Jack the Ripper. Okay, you just do not find women showing up as serial murderers. Okay, so I think that the ideation is one of the products of the male mind, and that there's a pattern of projection, right? That I relate. And this, people were incredulous about this, but I still maintain it. Okay, that men learn how to project, okay, through their own anatomy. That Freud talked about male urination, okay, as a kind of accomplishment, that primitive man prided himself on his ability to put out a fire, okay, with a stream of urine. And I said that it's a strange thing to be proud of, okay, but it's beyond the scope of woman who would scorch her hams in the process of trying to put out a fire, okay, with urination and so on. And I do believe that male maturation is about controlling those streams, the streams of urine, the ejaculation, and so on. And if a man doesn't control it, he will soil himself in an infantile manner. Okay? So I believe that the male pattern of urination is indeed, okay, at the heart of, you eventually get to Michelangelo. Okay, you're going from that and so on. Right? And I have seen in my own lifetime now, I'm like getting into my senior years here, that I've seen many talented women. I knew many extremely competent and promising women, but what they lacked, okay, was the power of obsession. Okay, there are very few female obsessives. I think I'm one. Okay, and so on. But so I'm kind of an odd sport. Okay, but I do feel I'm in between the genders. And that there's a kind of life deranging quality to artistic achievement, okay, where it's a mania, an absolute mania, and it produces rapists, and I believe that feminism by second wave feminism, by hiding, by concealing, by suppressing the evidence for sexual difference, is actually exposing young women to danger, because they do not imagine, okay, that there are psychotic males who are looking at them as prey, who actually see them through primitive eyes. They don't understand it. We're like decades away from Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960, which is about exactly these things I'm talking about right now. So I think that there are tremendous sexual differences based in hormones, based in biology, that need to be brought into the gender studies curriculum, that are now erased from it. Gender roles are being maintained as fictive constructs, the result of environmental pressures and so on.